Hello, my loves, and welcome to Fly Nubian Money. I am Lala Key, international real estate agent, and today we're focusing on a crucial topic: diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's DEI. You're going to hear that all across social media. If you haven't heard it, I don't know what rock you've been under, but we're going to talk about why DEI matters, especially in finance, and how it can impact our communities. Today, I'm actually joined by some beautiful co-queens who know a lot about our money and finances. Athena Gardner, CPA and wealth coach, Constance Carter, our wealth activist, and Erica Lewis, author of Faith in Transition. But let's jump right on in. And I want to first explain to you what is DEI. DEI stands for diversity, equity, and inclusion. And it's important in all areas of job and life. So what's its purpose? It's to reduce the gaps in wealth, health, and career for Black Americans. It creates workspaces where people from all backgrounds feel comfortable sharing their ideas and perspectives. And these programs can include employee training, resource networks, and recruiting practices. It also supports students of color and other underrepresented groups on campuses. These resources can help students graduate and educate the campus community about living in a diverse world. And finally, it helps to improve innovation, performance, and the workplace experience for everyone, which can boost financial performance. One thing that is a thing, before we go on to this slide, I want you to know DEI doesn't mean Black. I want you to get that in your head before we move on. So let's get back to the slide. That does not equal, and you're going to see that that is actually what is being pushed in this agenda right now. So let's talk about how this affects our communities. And I don't know if you've heard of it. I know that most of the people on the panel, y'all should hear some of the things that we say before we start this show. It's really good. So, Constance, what do you think about the importance of DEI in finance? Because you deal with money a lot and you teach it in our communities.
Yeah. This subject actually really pisses me off, ladies and gentlemen. And the reason why it does is because America has worked so hard in putting roadblocks in the place of Black people. They've worked so hard. She's worked so hard in oppressing Black people with all of the things that have come upon us in terms of redlining, predatory lending, Jim Crow, all of the things that set us back, right? We've been here 400 years and it's been 400 years of roadblocks. DEI simply means equity. That means we have a fair shake. God forbid, with all the roadblocks that have been put in our place, we actually get equity. They don't want us to have equity. And that's the thing that pisses me off about this. So when I hear DEI hire and all these things DEI, which are supposed that they flip to be negative, it's like, yeah, y'all want to keep us down, but there's a reason for it. There's a very big reason. And the reason is they know that we are a powerful people. They know that we are resilient. And you give us a little bit of equity, you give us a little bit of something, and we're going to take it and we're going to run with it. And that's the reason they're scared of us. They're afraid of us. They don't want us to have equity.
Yeah, that E word scares them to death. But we actually have a clip of someone who I absolutely love and how he breaks this down. So we're going to run that now. And then after that, Erica, I would like to know your thoughts on his video once we're done, because I think this is important for us to see.
Why is diversity and inclusion the only way America will survive?
Black people are too emotional on this topic, and some white people are too narrow-minded and fearful. By the way, none of my comments are racial. This is just the math. Okay, so now let's deal with diversity and inclusion. What's the biggest economy in the world? I've already said it, the U.S. What's the most diverse country in the world? The U.S. What are the two most diverse states? California and New York. Mm-hmm. What's the two most prosperous states? California and New York. What's the biggest economy in the South? Atlanta. $455 billion a year. 10th largest economy in the United States. What's the most diverse place in the traditional South? Atlanta. You take 6 states around Atlanta. States, not cities. You can name them. Alabama, Mississippi, like you can name them. Atlanta city economy is bigger than all 6 states. You can take 3 of those states together, put them inside a bucket, and sit it inside of the city of Atlanta's economy. That's because diversity is actually good business. If you're a business today, a company, a Fortune 500 company, you're 36 more likely to be prosperous and profitable if you're diverse and inclusive.
That's pretty powerful. Erica, what are your thoughts on that video?
You know, he makes a powerful point. He highlighted communities where we are prevalent: New York, California, and especially Georgia. I spent about 4.5, 5 months there last year and could not believe the power of the Black dollar in that community. It was just wonderful to see. However, I think we need to understand that our dollar has the power. I think we frivolously spend. We don't invest in our communities. We don't invest in our own businesses. So it's like we have the power, but we're constantly giving it away. We need to be able to hone that power and use it according to the needs of the community, and then that would give us the leg up so that we can actually start to flourish in equity. Because right now we're not.
Word again, equity.
That word again. Because we're not flourishing. We're not getting a return on what it is that we put out. Yeah, we're spending, and that dollar is powerful, but we're building everything else up, but we're not getting any equity back out of it.
Exactly. Peabody says, is DEI a smokescreen to include all ethnics except Blacks? Well, I think we actually answered that at the beginning with the fact that everybody just assumes that DEI means Black, but it's more than that. It means more. Athena, what are your thoughts on this? Do you see this as a smokescreen, or do you see that this is a missed target on this?
DEI is definitely not just a Black thing, because even though the civil rights movement helped usher in a lot of DEI initiatives, other groups benefit from our suffering and hard work, frankly. Asians, anybody who is non-white, LGBTQ, disabled, all other groups who are not non-white male, right, benefit from DEI. I love that clip from John Hope Bryant because he masterfully explains from a non-racial standpoint why diversity is so important. And it is a frustration for us as a community and greater at large for it to be seen as something negative. But it goes to show you, based off of the conversation we had earlier related to politics, is that the upper, dominant society are reorganizing their power structure to make sure that they maintain power within changing dynamics and changing trends. If you look at what is happening within this country, there are more immigrants. The birth rates of, Caucasians are decreasing. There's a lot of resources that are up for grabs or diminishing, and they want to make sure that with this reorganization of power, that they're able to maintain power within the changing landscape of America. America very soon will not be majority white. Their birth rates are declining at higher rates than ours. There's a lot of things that are going on. Diversity benefits the entire country. It benefits our GDP. Within that clip, he clearly stated and articulated why that is. Within diversity comes competition, and with competition comes innovation and advancement, right? But what happens is we also live in a very capitalistic, white-dominated society. And within capitalism, that structure is organized by a pyramid. So why not take the most spiritually, mentally powerful people, oppress them to fuel the bottom of that pyramid?
That's really good points. But I think people get confused a lot on DEI and affirmative action. A lot of people get those things confused, and they are really, truly two different things. So let's tackle this as well. We actually had a comment from McFact that said, white women benefit the most from affirmative action. Keep that in mind. So affirmative action is a set of policies and practices that benefit marginalized groups within an organization or a government. DEI refers to diversity training efforts that emerge around the same time as affirmative action. And that just gives us more opportunity to get the skills to also be leveled up in the job field, in the education field. Constance, how do you see those working hand in hand, yet being so different?
Well, of course, you know, when you're looking at companies, and just like Athena said, and just like John Hope said, or John Hope Bryant, just like you said, when you have equity, when you have diversity, it actually increases your productivity. And I'm so fortunate that I grew up in the Silicon Valley. And I worked at companies like HP and like Cisco Systems, especially HP. HP was, I think, far ahead of the curve when they're really employee centric, and they're really DEI heavy. And they were that way before it was popular or mandated to be. They taught DEI, they taught inclusion. And the reason why they were so successful as an organization is because everyone felt included. They had this thing called the HP way, which was their culture, which was how they treated their employees, and they made everyone understand sort of what it was like. And I actually built my company in the same way that those companies did in the Silicon Valley. I made sure that, you know, the culture was a specific way, and people felt prioritized, and they felt important, because then when you do that, you reduce your turnover, you have more morale inside your company. People want to be there, they want to work every day, they want to come to work. What people don't understand is there's a difference between, you know, being a boss and being a leader. And when you are a leader, people will follow you. You have people who are excited about coming to work. But when you have sort of a hostile environment where it's like my way or the highway, and I don't want any diversity, and we want everything to be sort of a monolith, then it actually reduces your productivity, and your chances of being a long-term company is reduced significantly. So I really believe that people, they don't know. People are so sick with racism. That's your favorite word, Lala. They're so sick with racism that they can't see past a color. They'll cut off their nose to spite their face, even though it's better for them to have that diversity. But because they can't see past the color, they will ruin their own businesses. They will ruin their lives. They'll vote against their own best interests and all of those other things because of that racism that's just been ingrained in society. And that's the thing that I don't think people really understand.
Ooh, and with that, I think I'm going to have to give us a little break. You just spent so much truth and knowledge right there. If you are just now joining us, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. We tackle the tough stuff. We talk about finances, and we help to build our communities here. Also, you can take us on Spotify. Just go to Spotify and look up our name, Fly Nubian Money. If you ever miss a show, you can download that and give us a 5-star rating over there. But if you don't want to miss this live, you definitely want to make sure you text the word Queens to 87948. And listen, we are talking money and how this is going to affect our communities. And we got to make sure that our money is in the right place. If you don't know where to start, you got to start at the beginning line. I always tell people, if you're afraid of your credit and you don't want to look, you're going to do yourself in service. You need to see where you are so you can see the goal line down the street. We have a lot of great tools on Fly Nubian Money to help you get your money right and your money tight. We have classes and courses and downloads that you can do to get yourself straight. So make sure that you go over there and check that out. So I want to talk about a little bit about the historical injustices. There is a legacy of discrimination. Black communities have faced systematic racism, segregation, economic disenfranchisement. So I see that DEA, to me, helps bridge the opportunity gaps. So Erica, could you speak a little bit to how you see DEI can help with these gaps in our communities, specifically understanding that it's not just Black?
Well, we're also starting to witness is that our communities are becoming more integrated with different cultures. So we're having a variety of cultures in our community, which means we're going to have a variety of cultures that we're working with. I think businesses are starting to see a huge attrition in with their employees, which is affecting their bottom line. We talked earlier about, this really helping productivity. And when you have attrition that's happening within the corporation, within your business, you can, with a certain group of people, you can definitely guarantee people are going to start noticing that, and it's going to affect the bottom line. So this is all about attrition, and really trying to scoop that back up. And we have to get that money back up. And the only way we're going to do that is if we are able to speak to the money that's in everybody's pockets, not just one set of group of people.
I totally agree with that. Now, Athena, you deal a lot with money and teaching money. So how can we use DEI ideas in our own community, not just with finances, but with other areas surrounding wealth building?
Well, when it comes to DEI ideas, I think that similar to what Constance said, taking that initiative to make sure that your own company, your own business, your own family embraces diversity within people, diversity of thought, diversity of gender, just diversity all around, because it is important to not become siloed into any one particular thinking. Because to be honest with you, if you're going to run a business or family or community, you want to have multiple perspectives and remain flexible in that way, because the environment is always changing. And the quickest way to die as a business is to be inflexible and to not adapt to the changing environment. In order to be successful in business or in life, you kind of have to future-proof yourself and always be at the pulse of things. That's why I encourage people, actually I have a workshop coming up, I encourage people to get ahead and not stay behind when it comes to things that are affecting our landscape. Learn as much as possible about AI and how that can help you with your education, with your schooling, with your business, with whatever that you're doing, right? That's one of the ways. Learn about all these different the changings, because also within business, the opportunities are going to come when you fulfill needs, really. So how do you know what the needs that are available for you to fulfill if you're not staying at a pulse, right? Even within the dominant society power structure in business, they sell to everybody, right? It's not like they have one particular customer. Most businesses survive because they sell to a diverse group of people, right? So I think that diversity adds value in a multitude of ways, even within, just on a social perspective, even friendship. I have friends, like my friends look like United Nations. Like this weekend, I'm going painting with like my friend, she's an artist, an international artist. We're coming over, I paint as well, so we're painting something together. She's Asian. Next week, I'm gonna be on the farm, honey. I'm be, feeding horses and gallivanting. My friend, she's white. Erica, I love her. When I see her, we spend time, she's Black. So having diversity expands you. And that is the messaging that is not being embraced with these initiatives coming down the line. Clearly, the message is we want this specific thing to go back and not change, because should it expand, it means it's being viewed as more opportunities for others versus us, instead of abundant mindsets, meaning abundance of opportunities for everyone.
I like that. No, I like that. And if I could just add to that too, Athena, when you talk about companies, I know like HP didn't pay the highest, but because they invested in their employees equally, they kept people working for them. People wanted to work. I'd rather work here than go somewhere else and get treated like shit and get paid more money. That's how as people are growing their businesses, and you look at leadership and how to really grow your business and being able to maintain that morale, you have to look at it and create a culture and an environment where everyone feels included. And that's extremely important. And I think we really need to understand that as we're going into, a lot of this entrepreneurship direction.
I think everything was valuable in all of that clip, because Athena, the fact that it is important that we have diversity around us. I like to call all my friends the colors of the rainbow. It's a Skittle box, okay? Because we learn from one another. And when you do have those friends as well, you can banter off of each other. You don't always have to agree, but you could see some other viewpoint that also can increase your mind knowledge on something that's going on. But with that being said, representation matters, because we still need to see the Black astronauts. We still need to see the woman engineer. there's so much to this that people want to put into such a small umbrella. Darlene Torrey says, my question, ladies, if we know the difference between the two, affirmative action and DEI, how do we move forward in action? Erica, what are your thoughts on that?
I'm sorry, I froze really quickly. Can you repeat that for me?
Yes, Darlene said her question to us is, if we know the difference between an affirmative action and DEI, how do we move forward with action?
Well, the key thing is we just have to move forward. I think we've gotten to a place where we are complacent with being complacent. Everybody's afraid that this group is going to get the food before we are. These people are here. They're putting them in front of us again. And we're now to the back of the line. And it's like, no, if we focus on, you know what? We have to live together. We have to work together. This is all about learning. And I had the opportunity to do that with travel. I think a lot of times people get pigeonholed in their ways because they have not been outside of their communities. They have not been outside of their country. They just haven't been anywhere. So they don't understand what it's like to work with someone that may look like you, but speak another language. You know what I mean? So having that experience, it is so vitally important to get out, go try different foods. I used to say when I worked on ships, when you change your palate, you change your taste and you change your conversation. And I think that's where people get pigeonholed, is they don't know how to change their palate. They've done nothing to change their palate. So the level of conversation stays dormant and they just can't elevate because they're just stuck. So get out there, meet somebody else that speaks another language. I mean, I suck at foreign languages. I failed French 3 times. Who does that?
Parlez-vous français?
I'm struggling with Portuguese. It's okay. I'm struggling. But I'm still thinking outside the box.
I know how to speak Pig Latin.
I failed it worse. Every time I failed it worse. It just got worse and worse and worse. But I have so many friends that live in France. So it's so important. Diversity is the key because you will never grow within yourself. You'll never know what that hidden treasure is in yourself if you don't meet somebody else who's different from you. You may find that you like something. You may find, hey, I can go spend a weekend somewhere in any 4 corners of the world because I wanted that experience. And that right there is the key. Get out of your comfort zone. Get to know, even if you can't afford a flight somewhere, you know what, go to a restaurant that doesn't serve the same food that you cook at home every day. Go try different foods. Another thing that's key is when I published my last book, the numbers may have changed now because it was about a year ago, but it said about only 56% Americans had their passport. Now that had nothing to do with race. That was just Americans in general. So that lets us know we're not going anywhere. We're not doing anything. And that is so important. And we can't get upset that other people find a way to get here and participate in diversity because it's different for them. We can't get upset because folks have made a way to get over here and to use the opportunity to use diversity to get ahead. We are missing the mark.
Right.
We are totally missing the mark. And I'm the first one to tell you to get out of your box, because I came from a little old tiny little town outside of Louisville, Kentucky. I grew up in the country, y'all. I was barefoot, running around barefoot, pigtails flying in the wind, climbing trees. And at that age, I never thought that I would see the world. At that time, I thought, even going through teenage years, I was thinking, this is my community, this is my village, this is my home. And I never imagined that I would move to Denver, move to LA, move to Florida, sell property in Portugal, sing across the world. You got to get out of your box. Yeah. Got to get out of your box. Serious Goddess says the only one including everybody is so-called Black people. Let's be real. No other race includes us. Maybe they'll include a token melanated person, but that's it. Athena, do you think that our community is the only one who seems to embrace this DEI thought?
I think that other communities don't have to worry about it as much. And when they do think about it, it's from the perspective of how they can benefit from it. Unfortunately, DEI has not been something that even though it was initially created to help us mostly, it helps other groups more so than us, because to your point, if we get any benefit in the form of affirmative action or DEI, the critique is the only reason you're here is because of that, not because you're qualified. Which brings me to a story that I would like to tell. I remember when I applied for grad school and I got a scholarship, honey, because it was expensive, but they gave me a scholarship because I graduated at the top of my class, summa cum laude, and all this other stuff that I was more than qualified. And I remember a conversation, but it was a very waspy private white school where 92% of the students are white. I'm not going to say publicly which school this is. But the education was great. However, there was a conversation we had between the students, and this was a white man. His parents' father owned a wealth management company, clearly, and he said it's unfair that he has to pay to go to grad school while us, a group of us get scholarships. Now, it was about, I think, 6 or 8 of us that were Black and Hispanic out of I think 100 something in that program. We represent maybe 2% in that program. I didn't really say anything, but my Hispanic friend at the time, she said, my mother works and makes $35,000 a year. How could I afford school? Crickets. He had no response for that, right? And I also noted while I attended that school, we were the ones who was outperforming everyone, asking critical thinking questions. We banded together, passed our CPAs together. We were the ones who really brought any kind of diversity in thinking and thought, and we outperformed our peers, right? Nobody was seeing me in negotiation class, and I was the only Black woman in that class. Everybody was white male, and I never lost a negotiation, right? So to say that it serves a purpose, but I think people like to think that, okay, the only reason you are here is because you are Black. And he's like, no, you need me to be here because you need to, one, throw us something back, because our ancestors, right, use the labor of our ancestors to build this country. And the more I study Black history, the more I understand that. And then 2, you are benefiting from our presence. Fast forward, we graduated. It's the end of the year. That same white man came up to me and he said, Athena, thank you, because I learned so much from you and how to be yourself, authentic self, no matter what environment. So that was something he was able to take away from that and all the things that he learned in class. But I just wanted to point out that story, that even as a Black person, because I know a lot of us get put in these positions in schools, in jobs, and people question our value, right? They're not really trying to give us anything anyway. So even if you are there to help with that diversity, trust me, they are not picking the bottom of the bottom. They're picking the best of the best for that position.
If you're just now joining us, you are watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you don't want to miss anything that we are discussing and you love to hang out with us and join the conversation, all you have to do is text the word Queens, Queens, to 87948. And also, if you think that you got what it takes to come on here and hang with us, because we be making it hot and heavy in here. I don't know about y'all, but I love my co-queens. We be in here talking it up. All you got to do is email us, info@realvirtual.net. I'll spell that, info@REELVIRTUAL.net. And don't forget to go to that website and download your free resources and get your money right and get your money tight. Now, ladies, I'm going to throw a kink in this wheel, because here's how I feel, and I've seen other people say this as well. I have heard that DEI now is the new N-word. And that is what the opposite side of blue is touting. A lot of it is. And I'm not trying to pigeonhole just one party, because I don't want to get political today. We're not doing that. But we are going to see that they have a different perspective than we do. So We're getting ready to see what this means. Harris' political ascent makes her the latest target of DEI insults. I think she's one of the weakest candidates I've ever seen in the history of our country. I mean, intellectually, just really kind of bottom of the barrel. I think that she is a DEI hire. And this is Representative Harriet Hagman, a Wyoming girl. Wyoming. You ain't even probably seen a person of color in your state.
Right. The only thing they've seen is Buffalo.
Right. Then earlier this month, Representative Kim Burchett, who is a Republican from Tennessee, said on X that the news media has propped up Biden and then dumped him for our DEI vice president. And then Black diversity, equality, and equity and inclusion professionals, the attacks on Harris as a DEI hire or a DEI candidate shows the way racial troops can be used against Black people in power despite their successes. Guys, we're seeing this thrown around like this is the hardest slam for us. How dare you? In other words, to me, that's the quality of them trying to say they're trying to spit on us. I'm sorry, that's just how I see it, because they see it totally different than we do. They feel like we're getting some kind of extra benefit when all we're trying to do is level the playing field. Now, we have this video I want you to watch, and then I'm going to throw it to you, Constance, and let you give us some fire after this video, because I want to hear your thoughts. Okay, not yet. There it is.
Effective immediately with compliance expected by May 31st of 2024. Charlie, what do you think about the story?
I think it's amazing. I think every red state governor should follow suit. Anybody in power should get rid of DEI immediately. DEI is a Marxist program that's infiltrated. It is anti-white, institutionalized, and Elon Musk is now one of the most anti-DEI spokespeople of the West, and praise God for Elon of doing that. He says DEI should be rearranged to DIE because it is saying it is dying. Look, Elon Musk calls diversity, equity, inclusion morally wrong. Propaganda words for racism, sexism. Changing the target class doesn't make it right. Good for you, Elon Musk. We need more people with wealth and with power and a platform to speak out against DEI. So I love that Governor Stitt is doing this. It shouldn't have taken this long.
That gets my goat, because I'm based in Florida. I was in California. I went from a completely different set of rules in California to Florida, where I felt like I had to watch my back 24/7. And it's because of these types of thoughts and these beliefs. And half the time people didn't even know what I was. So they would say things in front of me that they thought I would be like, and I'd be like, excuse me, and then have to check them. So Constance, what are your thoughts about that video?
Yeah, I was actually, before you rolled the video, I was actually thinking about it. I did a video a few months ago talking about the very thing that Elon Musk said about DEI must DIE. And when I read this article, I'm sitting in my Tesla at the charging station in the DMV area, and there's about 10 other cars that are sitting at the charging station, and everybody there is Black. And so we are supporting this man, unbeknownst to most of us, right? That says that he does not want us to have any type of equity in corporate America, in this world. We're sitting here supporting him. We're supporting him when we log on to Twitter, aka X, when we're doing our 144 characters. I don't know how many characters they do these days, but when we're posting our 144 characters on Twitter, we are supporting this man's advancement of eliminating programs that are set aside to help us gain equality. And that's what pisses me off. Again, let's go back to what I said in the beginning. All of these roadblocks that they specifically put in our place, and they don't want us to have any type of equality or equity. It pisses me off. But only thing that does is it tells me that, we have to be the ones that are so insulated, like the Asians, like the Hispanics, like the Jews, work together and stop worrying about these motherfuckers to do anything for us to advance our careers, because we have to stop looking for them to save us, because they are not going to save us. We have to save ourselves, and we also have to be extremely intentional about the people that we bring on to work for us. Like anytime I do anything, I'm always going to look to Black people first. Just like the Jews look to Jews first. They say we're going to look inside first. We're going to look for Jewish people to do work for us. I might not have them clean my house or maybe do my yard, but Just kidding. No, I'm not. But you know, I look I look to us first when I'm looking at different opportunities. And I think that's what we really need to do as Black people. We got to stop looking to everybody else to hire people and to work with. We got to start looking from within. Support Black businesses, y'all. When we have, I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna shut up. The people who said I don't do business with Black people, that is the most disgusting thing that I've heard. And that's just the most self-hating thing that we can say about ourselves, because we will give everybody else a chance. Nobody will give us a chance. And then we won't give ourselves a chance. Then how the fuck are we supposed to survive?
Exactly. I want to hear some of the comments. Our viewers always give us really good back and forth. And I want to hear what your thoughts are on that video, because he specifically mentioned people like Musk, who has an agenda. And anytime that you disagree with his agenda, you get banned, you get blocked. However, you can never block him, and you never can, you have to see everything that he posts, which is absolutely ridiculous to me. And he also has an agenda against woke and all that, which is also the other word for the N-word. So I'm just curious to know why. I am conflicted. I don't like to be on Twitter. Yes, I still call it Twitter instead of X because of him. But I also know some of my business comes from there. But by the way, now we can't stream there because now you have to pay for that. So Erica, in your businesses, when it comes to people like Musk, who thinks that DEI is dead and he's really pushing these agendas, how do you deal with this in your businesses?
Well, when it comes to the likes of Elon Musk, he's not the only one. There was an issue with one of the, I think, CEOs or presidents of Crocs here a few weeks ago, saying something very disparaging about a group of people. And then we can go back to Timberland, we can go back to Ralph Polo from years ago, saying that they didn't make their items for Black people. But guess who spent all their money on their items? Black people. And I think it's time for us to start withdrawing our money. It's too late. We have made Elon Musk. There are plenty of African Americans, peoples of other races that are driving Teslas, spending quite a bit of money on them, waiting for pre-orders to come in, waiting for exclusive orders to come in. So I think it's really time to pull that money back. So far as with DEI, I am very fortunate to work with a couple that a multicultural couple, and they have a beautiful business where everyone that works there is different. We have Italian, we have Philippine, we have Colombian. It's about the education piece, and to watch and see young people, and see, that's the key. When we sit and watch young people, how they interact with each other, and those of us that are of a certain age, we have a lot to learn because we are so embedded in being a certain way, embedded in a level of racism, they, us, and them. We don't know how to change. So I encourage people of a certain age, get up here and watch some of these young people and how they act. There's a lot of footage going on now where you see kids, one being Black and the other one, I'm not sure what his race was, but those kids played together. Ignorance is taught. To hate is taught. We don't come into this world like that. It's taught, it's learned. So right now, I think we need to, as the older generation, we have to teach the younger generation. We actually need them to teach us. So we're working in the reverse of what should be happening. But yeah, right now it's pretty much a mess. And you know what? If you have not bought a Tesla, girl, sell your Tesla, get rid of that thing.
I don't need no Tesla. I don't need nothing from SpaceX. I'm not doing none of that. And that's just, I just don't go on Twitter like I used to. It was actually really fun before he took it over. He needs to just give that on up. We have a couple of really good comments. Change Sharks now says she knows a person who needed a job and went to a Hispanic ran business, and they told him that they only hired their own. Well, to me, that's different. That there is actually a bit of racism. I mean, you have to look at the way that is. You still have to be able to consider everybody, right? Just a few weeks ago, or was it last week, we talked about how we have to even change our names sometimes on applications so that we'll even be considered. These are the things that we have to do in order to even get an opportunity. But in that case, that's a different set of craziness right there. I understand that we do want to hire within ourselves, but we always have to take into consideration the best person for the job. That's not saying we're shutting out anyone else, but we also do need to support our own communities, which is a fine line. So Athena, what DE practices do you want to see in finance? Because we always lack in the money field.
Yes, in finance, I want to see more DEI initiative when it comes to really supporting businesses, some grants, venture capitalist money to support businesses. I think we're going to roll the clip or what we have, but the Fairless Fund, which was a fund created to help support Black women businesses. The court ruled that it was it unconstitutional? That it was unconstitutional for it to do that, to have a fund that specifically focused on investing in women of color to bridge the gap in venture capital funding for women receiving less than 1% of all venture funding, which is true. And also, the grant has given over $5 million to various women of color-led startups. And I want to focus on women of color because usually when you see the word women of color, it basically means every woman that's not white. It doesn't necessarily mean Black women. So even though the fund is, I guess, supposed to support that, it's not just Black women that are benefiting from this, by the way. So I just want to highlight that. So the Supreme Court, because, you know, they have made some chess moves with the Supreme Court to get certain people on the bench to cause these problems that we're having now and to run initiatives where they're planning coming down the line, ruled that DEI initiatives were, I guess, unconstitutional. So the impact now is that there's less money available for women of color. Now, we were on a panel earlier this week, I think, where I discussed that the average Black business have about $35,000 capital on average compared to $105 capital on average for non-Black businesses. So other businesses receive 3 times the funding that our businesses have. And as Constance, you very well may know that when you are starting a Black business, there's just so much to overcome. First of all, there's a knowledge gap. There is a network gap because, you know, there's not a lot of Black businesses that congregate together and help each other. There is a financial gap because usually you have to bootstrap your business or don't even know that you're even capable of getting funding. So this is definitely an area I feel deserves the most attention, especially because the future of labor in America are going to be either independent contractor or business related, especially with advances within AI technology.
You know what, to add to that too, Athena, you know, I'm in the DC area, the home of the government contracts. And so I've been fortunate enough to live in an area where there are a lot of successful Black people who have government contracts. This is great. But Black people make up only 5% of the government contracts. So 95% of the contracts actually go to larger white owned businesses. And so we had, you know, 8A that gave African Americans or minority owned companies single source opportunities so that they can get these contracts. And now the same thing has happened with this whole DEI initiative to take that away from Black people. And so, you know, it's disheartening because we don't get the lion's share. We don't get nearly, we get minuscule. Even with these programs in place, we still weren't getting the funding. We still weren't getting the opportunities. Now you want to take it off the table for us. So, you know, you just really want to crush us. You really just don't want us to survive in any kind of way or capacity. And that's the thing that I believe is happening here is that it's not even about equity. They just don't want us to have anything. But guess what? They are dying out. And they are deathly afraid that the browning of America is happening, and they are going to be X'd out of the equation. And guess what? It's going to happen.
Well, there's a world that we always thrive, regardless of what they throw at us. So that we'll find a way around what we need to. I just hope that in this day and age, because a lot of times I feel like in history, we always had someone to rally behind. And even Tina Turner says we don't need another hero, but sometimes I feel like we do need a leader that speaks out about these things that we can fall behind. If you're just joining us, you're watching Fly Nubian Money. We are here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you love what we're talking about and you love joining us, please make sure that you text the word Queens, QUEENS, to 87948. Then you want to make sure you go on over to Spotify and download us over there so that we could take on the road with us. We like to go riding with you. Go on and put us in the car. Talk back at us. We'll talk back to you. Don't worry about it. We'll get to you. And always keep the comments coming, guys. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook and you're watching the replay, please go ahead and put your comments in. We do check those and we do answer those. So we would love to hear your thoughts. I want to roll this video again that we did at the top because I have a question that I want to ask you ladies, but I want you to hear this once again.
Why is diversity and inclusion the only way America will survive?
Black people are too emotional on this topic, and some white people are too narrow-minded and fearful. By the way, none of my comments are racial. This is just the math. Okay, so now let's deal with diversity and inclusion. What's the biggest economy in the world? I've already said it, the U.S. What's the most diverse country in the world? The U.S. What are the two most diverse states? California and New York.
Mm-hmm.
What's the two most prosperous states? California and New York. What's the biggest economy in the South? Atlanta. $455 billion a year. 10th largest economy in the United States. What's the most diverse place in the traditional South? Atlanta. You take 6 states around Atlanta. States, not cities. You can name them. Alabama, Mississippi, like you can name them. Atlanta city economy is bigger than all 6 states. You can take 3 of those states together, put them inside a bucket, and sit it inside of the city of Atlanta's economy. That's because diversity is actually good business. If you're a business today, a company, a Fortune 500 company, you're 36 more likely to be prosperous and profitable if you're diverse and inclusive.
Did you hear that percentage? That is an amazing percentage. But with the movement to remove anything DEI and also cutting out any kind of funding programs or grants, what kind of changes can we push for our communities? And how can we support DEI within our own communities? And I'm throwing that question to you, Erica.
I'm sorry, I was frozen.
The gremlins are after you today.
Oh my God. We have to educate ourselves. Don't be afraid of what is different. Don't be afraid of what you don't understand. I think a lot of times what happens is even people that are business owners don't understand business. Money has nothing to do with me being Black, with you being Jamaican, with you being Irish, with you being Korean. It's all about the money being green and who has the money and who has the skill that brings the person that brings the best skill so that we can get more money in here. This is about bottom line. This has nothing to do with race, ethnicity. This is all about bottom line. And once we, like the gentleman said, get our emotions out of the way, because it all turns into emotional rhetoric. Once we get our emotions out of the way and have a clear understanding and can define what the business needs are, then we can start moving forward. But until then, if all we're doing is looking at, well, I have to hire within this company, within my race, I have to hire within this age group, I have to hire within this. No, then you're not about making money. You're not about progressing. You're about appeasing a group of people that, may drive your business down because you're not able to appease the masses who want to come to your business and spend money. This is all about making money and progressing and growing. And if we don't focus on that, we're not going to get there.
No, and I'm with you on that, because why? They've taken this all the way up to the Supreme Court. Now, we just had a graphic up, and I want to bring that graphic back, because the fact that the Supreme Court ruled on this is pretty important. Now, we're unbalanced in the Supreme Court. I will say that just to be nice and kind. However, the first person I think of is Clarence Thomas, who has definitely benefited from anything that supports our communities, yet he still says it does not, and that he's gotten everything by working hard. Well, that doesn't mean we don't work hard. That's not, there's two different things going on there. So what happens to DEI following the Supreme Court ruling? What to watch for? The fearless decision was also put the Fearless decision has also put the nonprofit world on notice. They're wondering if any program structured like the Fearless Grant would be subject to legal challenge. And many of the companies are. What are they saying? Fearless Fund CEO Arian Simone summed up the court's ruling. The message these judges sent today is that diversity in corporate America, education, or anywhere else should not exist. So what's next? There's been a series of legal attacks or challenges on diversity, equality, and inclusion, DEI programs at companies and universities this year. And more cases will likely wind up in appeals court. And this includes, y'all ready for this list? Harvard, University of North Carolina, Google, Meta, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Walt Disney, and Starbucks. And there are many of those on that list that I have actually kind of stopped serving, just because I feel like they're so wishy-washy on diversity in themselves. Will this change how they do business? And will this, if they do have to change these businesses, it's going to affect you and how you go to these companies and support or non-support them, Athena?
I think that when it comes to businesses, I hope that people are paying attention to what is happening. And unfortunately, if you were to say, all right, I'm not ever going to support a business that is racist or doesn't support DEI or doesn't support certain things, you would probably be living in a hut in the middle of nowhere, because when you research all these companies, even the history of certain insurance companies were founded on insurance slaves and things like that. So when you research these companies, you won't have a product or a service. What I think is most important for us to focus on is what Constance has been saying, that we need to galvanize to the point where we don't really need other groups to support and hire us. And I think that being on the bottom in that way is what is causing so much structure and strife. Unfortunately, it's not a solution that can be solved overnight or immediately. I do think that a lot of companies look at us like we're just begging, or we're at the mercy of them, and then whatever they feel like it. And to some extent we are, that, they're giving us the black jobs or whatever it is, right? So I think for those of you who are watching this, episode of our show, the most important thing, because I like to be solution oriented, is that you look at yourself and your own situation and you decide in the next 5 years, what do you want that to look like for you, right? Now is the time. Do not wait for another pandemic or panorama, like I like to call it. Do not wait for another COVID. Do not wait for these guinea pig tests that we face to realize the serious nature of what is happening to us, especially as the group that is on the bottom in this country. I would focus on two paths, right? Because I don't think business is for everyone, because it requires a lot. Okay, it requires, sometimes I'm like, damn, a pound of flesh just to try to make it happen. But either upskill, learn, refine your skills, learn what skills are going to be beneficial for the future, especially in areas of STEM. That seems to be the way things are going, and AI. Or lean into your own skills, creativity, and see if you have the determination and willingness to have your own business enterprise, and then leverage the tools that are available to you. You can find some on Fly Nubian Money. I'm sure Dr. Boyce has some. I'm sure Constance has some. I have some, wherever you feel like your boat is. But those are the two camps that are going to happen, because I do see the economic apocalypse slowly brewing for Black America. And this is America anyway, so you already know.
Well, we're seeing it specifically. I've always said that we have the test states that are testing all of this and being very successful. And that is Florida, and especially Texas. Those two states in particular seem to be our battleground states for anything that represents us or any minority at all. And it's done with so much hatred. So as we actually wind down, I think we have really tackled a lot of the things and maybe answered some misconceptions. I would love to hear in the comments, did you learn something today from this? What are you going to take away from this conversation? How are you going to now do things in your community and make it better for our communities to get jobs? If you know if Ray needs a job and you know there's a grocery store down the street that's hiring, are you going to be the one to go say, hey, there's a job down there for you? Like, what are you going to do to help them level up, to get past all of these barriers that we have? If he needs help with his application, are you willing to do it? Because we talk a lot about what we can do, but are we doing it is the question I want you to answer in the chat. So as we wind down and we give our final thoughts, Constance, I want to know, in your perfect world, how would you solve this issue of the DEI to help our communities? And it doesn't have to be long. It's just like, what are your first steps that come to your mind to help us improve ourselves to get over this hump?
You know what I think? I think we got to be self-sufficient and independent. You think about what's come down the pipe when they started eliminating DEI. Microsoft was one of the first companies to eliminate a whole department and get rid of a whole lot of Black people when they didn't have to do it. So you see that when they don't have to, they will not. They are uninterested in working with your Black ass. And I think that we really, really have to look within ourselves. Okay, they are eliminating DEI departments. Let's take our talent somewhere else. There are plenty of brilliant Black minds that I think if we really sat down and worked together, we can create greatness. So I think just being intentional about starting things. You guys have learned so much. You STEM candidates, or you STEM people who work in those areas. You've learned so much. You've worked in these in corporate capacities. Start your own. And then you start being like them and start hiring your own. And now you don't have to answer to nobody, because there's a ton of talent out there. Let's go start recruiting at these HBCUs, and let's start recruiting Black people, and let's build our own.
I love that. I always reference back to the Black Panther Party, because I feel like they meaning the other side always wanted to tear us down, but everything about that program, feeding our own, educating our own, taking care of our elders, everything about that program needs to come back. It's a wonderful blueprint that we all need to get back to. Now,
there are a lot of Black people that were killed because they were trying to feed some babies.
For no reason at all.
Public enemy number one, because they were trying to feed some babies.
But are we willing to be public enemy number one, ladies? Are we willing to do that? I am.
100%. 100%.
I am. So I asked the audience, I asked our viewers, give us some answers, and some McFact says get an education. Okay, that's a great idea. But now I'm going to be devil's advocate. If they're taking away the DEI and we are harder to get the education, where are we going to go if that's taken away? Are you willing to tutor other people now to get that knowledge?
And that's where, I'm sorry, Lala, but that's where I wanted to jump in at. Something that's been lost. I remember being a kid, and there would be people that came to church that would show you different things, that had the experience in working in government at grassroots, that had the experience in working in the hospital, and they would actually come in and they would teach us. That was part of the youth choirs, thing that they would pull all the kids together and learn something. We have to get back to our grassroots of teaching our own. We cannot rely on federal funding. We cannot rely on us being able to get into this program to be able to learn so-and-so. We may have to just rely on each other, where we have that one person that we know that has this experience, that has the gift, that has the skill, that has the knowledge, and that person has to pass it down. We have to get into the habit of passing the baton instead of holding on to it because we don't want nobody else to know what we know. We want to gatekeep everything. No, how are we going to get beyond the point where we are if there's a gatekeeper within the gate?
Right, exactly. Exactly. Now, actually, I've been challenged. McFact says, are you saying good grades don't get you in college anymore? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that without the bar of DEI and other things that help us get into these colleges, if they see Shaniqua is applying compared to Emily, Emily's going to get in if they only have a certain amount of spots. It doesn't matter if Shaniqua has all A's and magna cum laude, if Emily is too. Who do you think they're going to pick? So that is my answer to that. Ladies, let's go to final thoughts. Constance, I know I told you final thoughts, but then I didn't say, tell us where you can find you. Any more comments for today, and where can we find you?
Y'all, let's start working together. That's it. You can find me anywhere. I am Constance Carter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And listen, I am doing a training with the Black Business School on B1 real estate strategies. And so I am inviting you all. We have a super duper deal. We did a webinar last night, Dr. Boyce and I, and we are just 80% of wealth in this country is generated through real estate. We got to get self-sufficient and independent. And so what's the best way in order to build wealth? That this is the way. And so I'm teaching you, we are teaching you. He's also going to teach you how to flip your stock so that you can invest in real estate. So we teaming up. We're doing some great things in the world. And I would definitely recommend you go to b1realestatemmastery.com. That's b1realestatemmastery.com and sign up for this 12-month training program so that we can get you into owning millions of dollars in real estate property.
Finally, they ain't making no more of it. Erica, what are your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
My final thoughts: learn something, get out there and experience something. If you don't have a passport, get a passport. If you haven't been on a plane, get on an airplane. You have got to start experiencing different things within your scope of everyday life before you can even think about introducing this and being able to function at a 9-to-5. Because if you don't have the experience outside of work, you're not going to be able to experience it within work. And that's where we get the rigidness. I can be reached on all social medias as Miss Erica Renee. And you can find me on my website, faithandtransition.com.
Thank you. Athena, I always love how you just throw in some good stuff. You're always on top of your game. Give us your final thoughts, and where can we find you?
Final thoughts are this: make sure that you have secured yourself, regardless of what DEI initiatives or what is going on. Clearly, we see a shifting in the economic landscape of this country, and I do not want any of you to be left behind. If you want to learn how to confidently manage your finances and live your best goddess life, you can find me at wewealthwoman.com, at wewealthwoman on all my social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and the We Wealth Woman podcast on Apple, iHeart, and Spotify.
Thank you. As you can see, I have beautiful queens here that are so educated and so lovely and spit knowledge with fire. And I am Laura Key. I'm an international real estate agent. I can help you buy in the United States, get your first little piece of land, even if it's a condo, baby. If you think you want the big house and can't afford it yet, let's start you with baby steps, because ownership is always going to give you power. And as for me, I like to say, if you can't help, don't hurt. If you don't like someone else's platform because they're teaching it, keep your mouth shut. It may be helping someone else. So don't tear each other down, because we could be the part of the problem, whether DEI is in place or not. So make sure that if you can't help, don't hurt.
Ooh, drop the mic right there, sis. I love that.
We appreciate all of you today. We loved all the comments. We are glad that you were here, and we love having you. So make sure that you don't miss our show. We're here Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Monday through Friday. And oh Lord, I forgot. We didn't get to the graphics about the Olympics, but that could be another day. What's going on with that in our Black jobs? But tune in for that one, because that's going to be a good topic. Also, we want you to make sure that you subscribe to us on Spotify, Fly Nubian Money. Make sure that you also go to our website, flynubianmoney.com, so that you can download your free courses and your resources to help you get your money right. It is Friday, Queens. So we will see everybody on Monday. Y'all have a blessed weekend. Bye.